afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining me. Today's going to be a tutorial video, a new and updated tutorial video. There are many tutorial videos on my channel. However, they're all pretty outdated, and I know most of you, and a lot of you, new subscribers especially, have gotten this game for the holiday season, have a lot of questions, and I'm trying to help you all answer them. So, real quick, go ahead and take a look at my screen. I just want to thank everyone for the channel. 3,000 subscribers I recently hit about a week ago. Much appreciated. When I first started this channel, I never thought I would get to even 100 subscribers. It was just kind of a thing that I did personally for some of my friends that played the game to kind of show them where I was at, and you all seem to enjoy. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started here. I'm not sure if a lot of you got the SimCity Vanilla or the SimCity Cities of Tomorrow. As you can see on my screen, I've got, of course, Cities of Tomorrow. I think they're shipping together. I could be wrong. However, we're not going to get too much into the Cities of Tomorrow stuff. More on just the regular SimCity. You're going to have a choice here at the beginning of the game whether you want to do single player or multiplayer. For the tutorial purposes, we're just going to stick to single player. Same thing applies. Same stuff's available in multiplayer. It's just a matter of if you want to play with your friends or not. So we'll go ahead and click play. We're going to go ahead and create a region, or pick a region, I should say. Depending on the region you pick, I don't know how many of these are available. Some have 7 cities and 1 great works. Some have 16 cities and 4 great works. Kind of all depends on what you're shooting for. Me, in particular, we're just going to do a tutorial, so I really just need to pick one, I guess. I don't know if all these are available, but definitely don't have to pick the same city that I do. I'll show you how I kind of scout for the... we're not going to do sandbox mode either. Sandbox mode is for, you know, like unlimited money and cheats and stuff like that. We're just going to stick to the regular stuff. But what I'm saying is you don't have to necessarily pick the same region in the same city. You can pick whatever you want. I'm just going to show you how I scout for them. What I like to do, especially with being new to the game, you're going to want to definitely pick a new city, or better yet, a flat city. Something like this. You know, you might, if that's what you want to do, go for it. It's going to create more of a challenge. With SimCity, there's no terraforming tools, so it's not like in the previous SimCities where you can just level out the land. It doesn't really work that way, so you're going to have to kind of build around it. I like to pick like a nice little coastal city with all of the bars, something basically on each of these little categories here. This here, for example, is showing if you have rail access, which you do not in this city. Shipping, which we do because we're coastal, and then each of these here, it's showing a fair amount of coal, a lot of ore, small amounts of oil, large amounts of water, which is great, and I'm going to get into that more here in a bit. And it does have wind, which we're likely going to start off with a wind power plant. So let's go ahead and claim this one. It's a nice little city, West Bend, I think that's how you say it. Mayor Game Captain 2014, which is me. And we're going to play. Any of you out there that would like to add me on Origin, that is my username, Game Captain 2014. Try to add everybody. You know, we usually have multiplayer, you know, like regions and series on my channel. I haven't done one in a while, but we've done them in the past, and they've been a lot of fun and a huge success. So here we are. I'm going to go over real quick the UI, or the user interface, and the HUD, the heads-up display. As you can see, this is your city plot. You've got some tabs on this side. Down here on the bottom, depending, you may not have, or actually you will not have a lot of these little tabs. I've gone ahead, and since I've been playing the game for quite a while, I've added some mods here, and I really didn't want to delete everything and reinstall it. I have existing cities that there might be some conflicting issues with. So just pay no mind to this stuff. I'm only going to use the tabs that you all have and the items that you all have if you got the introductory game. So no worries there. Great works, you're going to have your choice, and this is kind of a later in the game type thing. After you've built several successful cities, you'll have your choice of building one of these great works. You could pause the screen if you want to read more about it. You can look online, International Airport, Space Center, Arcology, and the Solar Farm. City View, which is where we were just at, and the City Specialization tab, which is going to come into play, again, later on in the game. We're going to be trying to shoot for and specialize your city, make money, and work alongside of your other cities to kind of create one big city amongst all these city plots. So, first thing we're going to want to do is you're going to want to connect your city. This is actually a beautiful city plot. This is great. nice flat area. We've got our coastal boundaries. One thing that I like to do first after I go ahead and connect my city, which, bam, we're connected, is check the wind direction. Now, the wind direction can be either accessed here by like the wind map icon here, which it shows the wind is blowing to the left. Or what I like to do is just, if you go on your little zones tab and you just click the industrial zone tab, it's going to actually give you a nice little arrow, clear arrow showing that the wind is blowing out towards the west. Best tip I can have, and I'm sure any other person that plays SimCity, is if you're going to go ahead and you're going to create a multifunctional city with, you know, residential, commercial, and industrial, which you're probably going to have to in your first city in the region, this is very important. You're definitely going to want to zone your industrial towards the edge of the map in the direction that the wind is blowing. So in this case, since the wind is blowing off to the west, we're going to want our small bit of industrial out here on the west, where any smog is going to blow off the map. If you put it over here, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to understand that it's going to blow right over all your sims, and you're going to create multiple issues, including deaths and health issues and abandonment problems with your residential zone. So I definitely don't recommend that. So, first order of business, like I said, we connected the city. We'll go ahead. I think we can stretch that a little bit farther. I know it costs a pretty penny here, but I like to use medium density avenue to start off my city. Reason being, if you start off with one of these cheaper zones like a dirt road, yes, you'll save a few dollars here, but do you really want to demolish your whole city when you realize that there's traffic issues? And yes, there is a road upgrade tool, which we'll get into. However, you know, 2 lanes in each direction really isn't that much. You're likely going to want to expand to the high density avenue or even the streetcar avenue in order to get those sims in and out of your city at a fair amount of time. So, gone ahead, the basics, and, you know, as we move forward here, I'm going to try not to keep this tutorial that long, but, you know, there's a lot of things in this game. Like I said, there's other tutorials on my channel that are a lot quicker. I'm going to try to be as thorough as I can for anyone that have just gotten the game and like to kind of know how to get started off right, and that's what it's all about. A couple other things, you've got your pause and your play. That's good when you have like a disaster, or if you're really changing the roads in the city. If, for example, you had to demolish a bunch of stuff and, you know, your city may suffer from it. For example, if you have to take out your hospital, you know, and you have it on cheetah speed, you might really run into some issues. So using the pause is good if you're going to really make some serious changes. You got your clock down here. You've got your speed, turtle, llama, and cheetah. Your city name. This is your approval rating. This is your budget panel, which, as we get started here, we'll touch on this a little bit. Shows what exactly your expenses are, you know, within fire or health or, you know, or so on. And then also we've got our population panel. Of course, nothing's here, but this shows a lot of information regarding students and the homeless total, workers and the unemployed. And then the commercial, residential, and industrial demand, which any of you out there that have played SimCity know exactly what this is. And it's very important as you move forward through the city. At first, you can kind of assume what you need. We need some sort of sims in here, which is what we're going to lay down now. However, you know, later on in the game, later on in the city, sometimes you'd be surprised as to what your sims really are demanding. Okay, so what we're going to do, some of you may disagree with this, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add a nice row of residential here. And we're going to get some people in the city first, and then we're going to move forward towards everything else. One little quick tip, if you hold the control key, you actually can plop a zone all the way along the whole avenue. Or you can click it like I just did, or you can hit control, and you can zone everything there. Zoning in this game doesn't cost anything. In the previous games, zoning did cost stuff, but in this game it does not. Roads cost. You'll have to kind of get into that. I mean, I could spend all day here going up to the cost of everything, but zones do not cost anything. So if, for example, you said, oh, you know what, I don't want that, I want industrial over here, it's no problem. You can just go ahead and add it in. Look at that, how quickly it spawned up there. So we'll go ahead, like I said, we'll get some sims in here. I'm going to crank this up to cheetah speed just so we can get some people moving in here. And as you can see, we got Sims moving right in. We get a little bit of time here. Look at everybody all happy. You're going to get these little icons here as well, which is kind of giving the thoughts of the Sims moving into the city and some of them leaving the city, what their thoughts are and what, you can actually use this, to your benefit. We need some power, which is obviously true. And we need water, which is obviously true. So we're going to go and we're going to use that pause icon like I was talking about. So we're currently paused. And if you look down here at the bottom, SimCity does a great job of kind of advising you of what you need. Now, in this case, water and power are definitely the 1-2 punch here that we're going to need. When you select power plants, it's going to give you a little ring, kind of showing you which ones you can indeed put in. These two over here are more for the cities of tomorrow, and you'd probably like to access them later on in the game, so don't pay too much attention to that. What we're going to do is we're going to put in a wind power plant. Wind power plants, they're excellent. There's no pollution. They're cheap, and they're very effective for newer cities. So we're not going to put our wind power plant right along these lines here. You got to kind of budget your space. You got to budget your zonage. If you go and you put stupid stuff in the wrong places, you're just gonna mess yourself up for later on. So what we'll do is we'll draw like a small low intensity, what's that what it's called? Or low density zone from like here, and we'll just draw it out this way. And nobody's really gonna take that road unless you're a worker of the power plant. And we'll go ahead and we'll stick that down here. Water's the next order of business. Same thing with this. We'll go ahead. This is your standalone water tower that you're going to get with your vanilla version of SimCity. And we'll go ahead and add that there. And as you can all see, there's no need for pipes and there's no need for power lines in this game. All of the water and all of the power travels along the roads. So as long as it's connected to a road, you're good. And I know in previous SimCities that was kind of hectic trying to create, piping maps and power lines and all that. Fortunately it's a lot easier now. So now a lot of these thought bubbles, they're going to start to subside as you can tell we've now got power. As long as we get workers here, if we click on this little tab here, it'll show you welcome, add more power if you want to. Same thing with water. Just takes a second for people. Looks like we got a worker there. And definitely don't want to put your water tower near your industrial because you're just going to pollute everything. So we're looking pretty good. We've got 276 Sims, 288. They're moving in. And look at that. Petition to build town hall approved. So that's really good. We'll go ahead. We'll continue to... our money's looking pretty good, right? Yeah, 32. Okay, we're still good. 32,000 simoleons. We'll continue this road out a little bit farther there. And what we'll do is we'll kind of... Do I even have road guides on? Let me turn the road guides on. I didn't realize I had that off. Road guides are great. Road guides will actually give you the ability, if you can see here, when I select a road and I put it alongside of this road, it'll actually sync up the perfect space in between the roads to zone that type of building. For example, you've got medium density avenue. So in order to get a perfect gap between back-to-back medium density buildings, you would want to put it here. And the same thing works with high density and low density. That's, in my opinion, probably the best feature of the game, if you want me to be completely honest. The road tool is great. And it also works, too, with curvature roads or square roads. So, I mean, I know it's kind of basic here with a straight road, but if you were to draw a curved road, it goes along with the curve. So we might get into that in this tutorial. We might not. You might have to experience that yourself. One thing that you want to also note, when you draw a road, for example, this one here is low density. It's not going to create a stoplight. Okay? Stoplights are your enemy in this game. Anything else that you create, I believe low density, let's try. Yeah, low density will create a stop sign. Stop signs are good. If you go ahead and you put a medium or high or any of these other ones in, it creates a stoplight. Now, what you're going to want to keep in mind is if there's a stoplight here right at the beginning of your city, When this whole city gets filled with 300,000 Sims, your Sims aren't going to be able to get into the city in a fashionable amount of time. They're not going to be able to leave the city in a fashionable amount of time. So you want to, keep in mind that creating intersections right at the beginning of the city is probably not the best idea. Low roads like this are fine. They're not, or even low density roads, they're not going to cause any issues. If you're going to need an intersection on your main avenue, you're going to want to put it back in the city, down like this, where it's going to easily disperse the traffic, not all the way up here where it's going to bottleneck your city. That's a big tip there. I figured I'd take a moment there to explain that. So we're going to kind of tee off this intersection here. We're going to lay down our town hall. Just go a little bit in each direction. We're going to go ahead and we're going to lay down our other services here. Let's go ahead and let's do our town hall, though. Town hall can be found under the government tab. All you need for the town hall is you need to connect the highway, which we did initially, and provide power and water. So we're going to go ahead. We're gonna put the town hall in here nicely, right in the heart of the city. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, one thing that I did not put in was sewage. Oh, okay, well, it's actually giving me a chance to name your city. Well, we can go ahead and click here, and we can name it, I don't know, holiday season. I don't know. You can name it whatever you want. And then when you go ahead and you select your city, you'll see it's called holiday season. So, perfect. Now, one thing that we didn't touch on was sewage. Sewage, just like what I had touched on earlier, travels along the road. There's no need for pipes or anything like that. So go ahead and click on sewage, and we'll need a simple sewage outflow pipe, which is your basic, basic. So as you can see, look, the sewage is traveling here, and it's going to kind of make some of these people mad, but you know what? It's all for the better. Nobody wants backed up pipes. So as you can see, night has fallen. Everyone's lights are on. This game does a great job of letting you zoom like all the way in. I mean, look at that. And as you move forward, you'll be really, it's really beautiful. I mean, the intricate details. So we've got residential, which is a place to live. We're going to need commercial, which is a place to shop and work to some extent. And then, of course, we're going to need the industrial, which I touched on that I want to kind of put out in this corner here. You'll have your three basic food groups, people. What I like to do is I like to keep at least 3 times the amount of residential, if not 4 times the residential, to the amount of commercial and the amount of industrial. So if you look at our zones here, I've got probably, I don't know the measurements here, but quite a bit of residential, not so much commercial, not so much industrial. And that's probably a good, probably do a little bit more residential to these. It's a good little rule of thumb. And as you can see down here, our commercial demand is very high. Give these businesses a chance to move forward and to grow up. You're going to get small little low wealth like, grocery stores and ice cream stands and stuff like that, which, like I said, is definitely a place for our Sims to shop, but also to work. Commercial does indeed help out your unemployment crisis just that little bit, but nothing helps it as much as industrial, which is these factories that we got burning out here. The factories also, as a side note, they actually help with freight that are going to go ahead and help our commercial. So if we threw in a bunch of commercial but we didn't put in any industrial, you're going to have these places go out of business because they have no freight. So please keep that in mind. Now, we're looking pretty good. If we want to go ahead and as you can see in the top of the screen, we're unlocking all sorts of city specialization related things. Omega Co Factory is more so when it comes to cities of tomorrow, but stuff that you all will have is you're going to have the mining category here for if you want to do coal or ore specialization. Also, oil well, which could be very profiting. As you can see, we've got some oil here. We're not gonna dive into that too much here. Maybe in some future videos we'll get into that. The ones that you're going to have available are going to be those two: trading, electronics, culture, gambling. These 3 come with the Cities of Tomorrow expansion pack, which you all won't have yet. Or maybe you will. If you will, if you do, great. But like I said, it's going to take a while before you get into that. So all in all, I think we're doing pretty good. We can check our little power plant here. It shows the amount of jobs. Water tower. We have sell water to neighbors. It really doesn't matter because there is no neighbors, but this is, you can uncheck that if you don't want power to be available to a neighbor. For example, if you did an online city and you had somebody come in and they were stealing all your power, or purchasing it legally, but still stealing all your power, and you're wondering, whoa, why don't I want to have any power for my own Sims? It's probably because you have that little box check. So when you first start out, especially if you do online, you're probably going to want to uncheck that. So some of the main things that you're going to want to also focus on are, trash and all the other city services. But initially, your issues are going to be very limited, especially if you focus on education. And I would recommend education when you first start out. Reason being, education, it's not costly, okay? And it's going to actually save you money in the long run. If you decide on trying to build your whole city, amongst the masses here without any schools, you're just going to run into all sorts of problems with fires and crime and stuff like that. Educated Sims tend to pollute less. They tend to cause less trouble. And it's also going to unlock a lot of stuff when it comes to, later on in the game when you have educated Sims. Certain power plants, for example, the nuclear power plant, it requires smarter Sims in order to operate. You know what I mean? So if you don't start young, if you don't start with your school and your education now, you're probably going to have run into problems later on. So I would suggest doing that, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on here today. Another thing, I keep coming up with things that I look at when I start cities. Taxes. It starts as a default 9. I would definitely put it to 10. Nobody's going to cry over that 1%, and it's going to help you out. We probably should have done that even earlier on, but nevertheless, it's something I would do. So we don't see any thought bubbles, which means we're fairly happy. We can also check on this little happiness thing here, and it tells you a little bit about it. For example, if we click on residential, let's see, industrial. So our low-tech industrial is unhappy. So let's head over to the industrial part of our town and find out why they're unhappy. Could be because they don't have enough workers. Let's see. See, there aren't enough blue-collar workers. So like I said, always want to stick to that 3 or 4 to 1 residential kind of a tipping point. So let's go ahead. Let's use that tool I was talking so much about. But we're going to do, instead of a avenue over here, we're going to just do a regular medium density street. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to follow our road guides. We can get down here real close. And like I said, intersections all the way down here. Look how far we are from the city's entrance. You don't want to mess with your intersections right up there at the front. That's probably the biggest tip I have today. One thing I just noticed, my roads may look a little different than yours. I think I have a road mod in here, and I'll actually link down in the description below the site that I use for a lot of my mods. And they're very easily installed, just like any other game that you play. I mean, all the developers out there, they like to come forward with different little things that make the game interesting, and that's what that's kind of what we're doing here. But this is more or less a modded version of the road. So as you can tell, I just added some more residential. Like I said, this is actually, they're crying for that. So let's add this in. As you can see, we've got 294, 306. The Sims move in very quickly. Keeping them here is what's the tough part. Anyone can just draw down zones, but if they actually stay, that's when you know you're doing a great job. So far, I don't think anyone's moved out. We don't see any abandoned buildings. We don't see any fires as of yet, which we're going to get into here in a minute. And you can just kind of hover your mouse over these places and see freight. Freight is selling really well, which means there's a good balance between the industrial and the commercial. If you've got a lot of these industrial buildings out here that are saying we need somewhere to ship our freight, you're likely going to want to add a little bit more commercial. It looks like we can probably add another like store or two over here, just a little bit at a time. Another thing that I stress: don't go too crazy with adding zones. I'm telling you right now, if you think that you're going to just lay down roads and put zones in here, unless you really know what you're doing, you're probably going to have a strong imbalance, and you're going to have problems. So I think we're actually doing really well. Our town hall, people in town hall are saying we want more jobs, yay! which is a good sign of a strong economy. When we want more jobs means more people. And we're looking pretty strong here. We can actually check our little power map here, which shows that our we have enough power. We can actually click our water, just make sure we have enough water. And we can check our sewage to make sure we're adequate in sewage. Now power, as you can tell, 2.1, we're kind of pushing. So one thing that SimCity has introduced is rather than having to demolish this and put a different power plant, you can just upgrade the power plant that you have. And you can do this with a lot of buildings. We're gonna start here with the power plant, but you'll see as the game moves forward, whether it be schools or hospitals, you'll be able to actually go ahead, dive right in, and edit the actual module here, which is what we're going to do right now. So as you can see, 2.1 milliwatt, I believe it's milliwatt excess, is adequate for right now. But if you've got some of those buildings that are going to upgrade because of the great economy that we have here, you're probably going to run into some power issues. So rather than let it get to that point, what we can do is we can add in additional turbines. Now, there's large turbines, there's small turbines, there's vertical turbines. For the purpose of this, we're just going to add in another turbine. And as you can see here, there's more plot points, just like you have plot points when it comes to everything else in the game. There's a service road here, and you can add in additional turbines. So we got this one up and running. So let's take a look at our power map now. Okay, so now we have 4.8 excess, and so on. So you're going to want to keep an eye on this. SimCity, as I spoke on earlier, does a great job of kind of identifying that. If we were to get to the point where there's power issues, this little icon would turn either yellow for a moderate issue or red for an immediate issue. So keep mind of your panel down here, and you should be all right. So we're doing fairly well. I like to check our little economy tab whenever I get a chance here. Show our amount of Sims in the city, and then of course this here was actually going to show our treasury. Everything is looking strong here. We've got minimal. Actually, our town hall is costing more than everything, which is quite mind-boggling. But so our town hall is the most expensive thing in our whole city, followed by our power, which we just recently expanded, water and sewage. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our school, like I spoke of. School can be found, of course, under the education tab, which is right here. And we're going to put a grade school, which raises medium wealth land value. Now, I know we've got some homes in here, but I think we should probably put it down over here in this area, because like I said, it raises the land value, and I'm going to show why. So if we put this here, as you can see, everyone's happy. It actually gives you, I'm kind of explaining everything, but this little budget panel, these icons are going to pop up over here on the right side, and you can also click this little guide me tab for each of the city specializations, and it'll tell you step by step of what to do. So if you're lost or if you're having issues, you can either refer to an online tutorial like this one, or you can actually click on that little guide me tab, or these little thought bubbles up here, and they do help out. They did a great job with that as well. So one thing that you will not be able to function without, of course, some students, as you can see, if we move forward, they can walk to school or whatnot, but what you're going to want to really do to bring everybody home or bring everybody to school is to lay in some bus stops, some school bus stops. And as you can see, they're showing you right here, your school bus stops school bus will stop here to pick up kids and take them to school each day. Yes, even weekends. So Sims go to school every day of the week, all 7 days. Boy, I would have hated that when I was growing up. So I like to put them on each end of the road. Some people can get away with putting them on one side, but I like to kind of alternate. So we'll do, let's see, we'll do one maybe here. We'll do one here. We don't want too many. This is commercial. Maybe we'll do one here, here, and here. Beautiful. All right. Looking strong, looking strong. So, teaching 80 students, school hours 6 to 3, and like I touched on in the power plant, you can upgrade school buses. You can put a little flagpole in and a sign. You can go real crazy with this. If you start to have issues where people aren't getting to school, I don't think we're going to have any problems here. You can add more school buses in. But pretty good, people, pretty good. I think we're moving along here. So we'll give that a little bit of time. Another issue that we might start having that we should probably deal with right now is the garbage issue. Sewage, yes, is a concern, but garbage as well can really pile up. And garbage, if we take a look at the garbage map, garbage can cause ground pollution, which could lead to sickness. So right now, it's pretty minimal, as you can see. 2 cans of garbage. Our town hall is creating 40 cans of garbage. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to throw in a garbage plant like the industrial out here, out of the way, far, far away. We might even move our outflow pipe in a little bit, just because it's kind of bugging me being down over there by our residence. Let's see. Perfect. One thing to note, if you see these red blocks, basically what that's telling you is if you put down your garbage plant here, you may have issues adding additional modules to your garbage plant or your garbage disposal center. So you always, if you see that and you can avoid those, move it over a couple notches. Now in this case, we're going to take out a factory, which I don't want to do. So let's put it on this side. We should be golden there. It'll take a second when you add these modules in for, for workers to come. But as you can see here, they're going to stop. And let's throw up our garbage map. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. They're going to go to each one of these buildings, and they're going to pick up the garbage, and they're going to take it to the dump. So you can sit here, and it's kind of fun to watch them go home to home and pick up every bit of trash. I think 2 garbage trucks should be more than enough for this city. A fully maxed out city is probably going to want 1 of these, maybe even 2, depending how your traffic situation is. Traffic has a lot to do with stuff like this. If your entire city is completely gridlocked, you're probably going to need a garbage disposal center on each end of the town, just so everybody can get their trash picked up. But this should be good. The garbage trucks usually go out very early in the morning at like 6 a.m., and they're usually done by like noonish, which in real life it's pretty standard. And then down here also under the garbage tool, you can see there's 257 cans of trash, and 197, 204, and so on are being picked up. So that's perfect. You can usually kind of leave that be and add more trucks as your city grows. But for the most part, we're doing pretty good for a starting city. Sniff, anybody got a tissue? Okay, so there's one little complaint about not having any health or clinics. No problems with you. And then actually these are going to give you a little quest. So if you click on this. Alright, so we need high wealth workers who will drive research into new technologies. Academic attraction. Well, this is kind of, I'm not going to do this one because this is kind of geared towards the Cities of Tomorrow expansion pack, so I'm not going to really focus on that. But those thought bubbles will come up. They'll be different. They'll be little quests. And as long as you succeed at the quest, you're getting that 5,000 samolians, which should be good when you start off with your city. But for the most part, aside from having, like, maybe needing a little clinic, I think we're doing okay. Let's check our budget. So we're making a pretty steady flow of money. We're making 700 samolians an hour. I think the first order of business, I want to add in the health, but my suggestion would be to add in a fire station first. Fire stations, I know, as I said, focusing on education at the beginning will help you, but I think you really should do your fire station first before you do anything else. And I always like to kind of put it in between my industry and my residential. So I think right out over here would probably be a good spot. And as I keep saying, you can upgrade this as necessary, with all these little things. But for right now, I think we're okay with 1 fire truck. I think, right? Yeah, 1 fire truck. So we'll let that kind of come along. Next order of business, I would say, would probably be your clinic. And then lastly, being your police force. There's some crime, but crime doesn't really get too out of hand. unless your land value is extremely low or you decide on kind of taking on the gambling city specialization. If you think and you want to kind of be cool and you want to throw in one of those gambling houses here at the start, you're going to have a world of problems. You gotta kind of be geared up for that. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of unhappy Sims. Everyone's going to want to kind of move out. Let's see, what else can I kind of focus on here, or what else do I normally focus on a new city? I usually like to kind of take a look at our land value map, which kind of gives, and this is another reason why I wanted to add that school over here. It's got, I guess, 3 different types, or 4 different types if you really want to count. Negative impact, which is, as you can see, is red, which is only like okay for low wealth. Then you've got white, which is pretty much good for anything, but only low wealth is going to spawn there. You've got light green, which is this circle here, which is good for like medium wealth. And then you've got real dark green, which is like out over here, and sometimes even darker. If you really want to get some high wealth Sims and high wealth shops, you're probably going to want to add a bunch of parks in here. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about now. Parks are great. Parks do numerous things, including making everyone happy, raising your land value, and keeping the homeless off the street. If you see, and a good way to check your homeless, this is actually a forgotten little tab here, but if you click your little demolish or your bulldoze tool, right now you don't see any, but if you had homeless people, you would see these little icons all over the city, like all along the roads. They're yellow icons. They look almost like somebody carrying like a bag. I wish I had a picture of one. Maybe I'll throw one up on the screen here if I can find one. But having parks, help that. Of course, improving your economy helped that. But if you had parks, a lot of the homeless people, they hide out in the parks at night especially, and they don't really bring down, your other Sims. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we'll show you how the land value works. So what we're going to want to do, I'd say, is let's get some high wealth out over here. So if we go into this tab, okay, so small fountain park. So if we go ahead and we throw down this guy here, look at that. Look at the increase that we just had on that one park. It almost made our whole city, it almost improved the well-being of our entire city. So as you can see, this is just one small example. Adding parks definitely help out. And look at this. Look at our small, once-be homes become, nice little community-style houses here. 2 stories, and these are going to house, Sims with higher incomes, and, it's basically driving your economy here. Very nice. Very nice. So we'll kind of let that come up. I've touched on a few things in this tutorial that is definitely enough to get you all started out there. As you can see, we're not making the most amount of money, but as long as you're in the green and as long as you're not going crazy when it comes to your buildings, this number will continue to climb. Especially if we go ahead and we want to add in some more Sims. No better way to drive your piggy bank than to just add more taxpayers, which is basically what we're going to do here. And I think we have enough money. Well, we're getting close. I think we need 20K to fund our clinic. Yeah, 20K. But we really don't have any issues. You know what I mean? I mean, 7 deaths per day. That's not great, but it's not horrible. You know what I mean? So it's not something that you're going to need to take out a bond measure for. You can kind of just wait for your city to come along, and you can kind of move along, at a steady pace is probably the best way to put it. So I hope everyone enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave your questions down in the comments below. Like I said, I've got other tutorials on my channel. Feel free to, stay subscribed. Check out my other tutorials. They kind of go into depth with some of the city specializations. This is kind of just an updated tutorial for a lot of the beginners that got the game recently, like I stated. Make sure you hit that like button and share the video if you've got other friends or family members that play SimCity. And thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.